The only people who don't want to disclose the truth are people with something to hide.
All right, welcome back, America. Welcome back, America. Welcome back, Gulf Coast. Welcome back, world. Freedom Friday with Carl Gallup. So glad that you're with us. In this last segment of today's show, our very special guest, Bettina Viviano. Bettina Viviano, I've been promising you would be with us today, and she is here. Been talking with her off the air there for a few moments. Bettina Viviano is a Hollywood television and movie producer and a literary manager. You'll recognize a lot of the television programs and movies that she has either been the producer, the executive producer, or co-executive producer, such as Jack and Jill, Family Sin, Strange Hearts, Mom's Got a Date with a Vampire, Three to Tango, Nightmare Man, Alibi, Caught in the Act, just to name a few. That's Bettina Viviano. She also worked on the 2008 Hillary Clinton campaign for president, and she's become quite noted for her testimony that she has inside knowledge during the campaign that the Clintons knew that Obama was not eligible to run for President of the United States at several levels, and she also has inside knowledge and information, and you'll hear this right from her own mouth, that Chelsea Clinton's life was actually threatened by Obama operatives if the Clintons did not go silent on the issue of the birth certificate. Bettina Viviano, welcome to Freedom Friday. God bless you for being here.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Hi, everybody.
Hey, everybody. Listen, so you're calling from the, you're out on the left coast today, right? You're out in California?
Yes, I am, in the Hollywood Hills.
Okay. Well, and we are absolutely honored that you're with us, and you've got listeners coast to coast, and I'm certainly looking forward to talking about this. Well, listen, clean up anything I said that was wrong, but you did work with Hillary Clinton's campaign for presidency back in 2008, right?
Well, not actually for her campaign. What happened was as a manager, my best friend and client as a writer-director got a phone call from a woman named Diana Zuckerman, who somehow worked in the Clinton White House when Bill was president. And she came to us. We don't even know how she came to us. I guess she knew we were filmmakers. She called up and said that Hillary Clinton had made allegations about voter fraud against her by Obama and the DNC, and would we be interested in making a documentary film about it? And at the time, I had never voted in my life. I wasn't registered to vote. I never voted. I wasn't a Democrat. I wasn't a Republican. My partners were all Democrats, as you can imagine, being in film business,
sure,
and being Hillary supporters. But I wasn't. I was the only one that had no political, any kind of affiliation or experience. And when they asked me to do this, if I wanted to produce this, for 1 minute I said, why? Like, what's a primary? I didn't know what a primary was. What do I want to be involved in the Democratic primary for? That sounds rather boring. You know, I'm here making my Hollywood movies.
Right.
But I decided to do it, and it was never funded by Hillary or Bill. It was never funded by the campaign. In fact, we paid out of our own pockets to produce this. We've never made a dime. We never finished it because my partner got scared. And so the minute that we said we were going to make a documentary about this, I mean, all of a sudden my phone blew up. Emails blew. I mean, everybody had a story about what the Obama campaign had done, and there were 2,000 complaints in just Texas alone. We met with John Fund from the Wall Street Journal twice to do a story about it. We tried to get attention from people, but we had the first black presidential nominee. Nobody wanted to hear it.
Right.
So we tried to warn everybody that this was how the guy played, but nobody listened back then. But the stories were horrible because there were death threats and, threats of, getting fired from your job and being booed out of the Democratic Party. And there was vandalism and physical assaults and criminal complaints. I mean, they played dirty. And at the end of it, by all calculations and by, everything that we saw, she really did win the nomination, but the DNC just didn't want her. So they pulled, in the Obama campaign, pulled their usual acorn. We didn't know what acorn was back then. Now we know that it was them. We didn't know they had a name for what they did. But it was just horrible, and I'm scarred for life. I mean, I will never forget any of it, ever.
Right.
Never. I have nightmares about this. It was horrible.
Well, Bettina, listen, I want you to tie into this now. I remember back in 2008, I don't remember the exact timing of it, but Hillary was the front runner, but Barack Obama was catching her quickly, and the prognosticators were indicating that it looked like Obama might overtake her in the presidential race, in the primaries, and she was freaking out. And I was in a motel room in South Florida getting ready to, I'm a pastor as well, and I was getting ready to preach a big conference down in South Florida, and I was in a motel room. I had on Fox News, and I saw with my own eyes and heard with my own ears, and I'm going to have to paraphrase because it was years ago, it would have been in 2008, Hillary Clinton proclaiming publicly before the cameras that she had information that would, quote, sink the Obama campaign, which she was going to reveal, she said then, in 4 days. She said that on Fox News. And I can remember, because I had already been doing some of my own investigation into this, his eligibility. I can remember calling people, getting on the phone saying, you've got to hear this. Hillary Clinton is claiming that she has information, and she's hinting that it has something to do with his eligibility. As a matter of fact, she even said that somehow. I don't remember her words, but it was a strong hint that she possessed information that would sink his campaign, and it went directly to his eligibility. So I waited with bated breath, Bettina, for 4 days, thinking, well, surely this will all come out and all will be right with the world, and America will be America, and the truth will come to the top, because I was already smelling the rat. So I waited for 4 days. Not only was nothing ever said by Hillary, but no other news agency ever said a word about it. Fox never said another word about it. The whole thing went dark. The whole thing went silent. He overtook her in the campaign. Next thing you know, they're having secret meetings, and then, of course, he wins, and she's made Secretary of State. So is that part of what was happening? I mean, did she know, and they were getting ready to drop the bomb, and is that when the threats started coming? I mean, can you connect the dots there?
Oh, yeah. Look, I know for a fact they knew. I've heard it out of Bill Clinton's mouth. They knew. I mean, the funny thing is, with people on the left who I don't consider to be particularly intelligent, but what they don't realize is that there was never a Republican that ever brought this up.
That's right.
And the reason that they never brought it up was because John McCain had his own problems, and they had to pass Senate Resolution 511 to stop the Democrats from suing. Democrats were quite birthers on their own.
Yes, they were. They
sued McCain everywhere. There's a huge New York Times article by a constitutional law professor who claims that John McCain was never eligible either because he was born in Panama. Right. And the co-sponsors of Senate Resolution 511 were, guess who? Senate Barack Obama. And so my feeling is that there was a deal made between both parties to never bring it up about each other after that. That's why I think. But there was no Tea Party in 2008. It never came out of a Republican's mouth. I didn't know any Republicans in 2008, and I knew he wasn't eligible. And I was like you were, Carl. I kept being told that Bill was going to come out and tell the truth. Yeah. I was told over and over and over, when's he going to do it? When's he going to do it? Well, he says, in fact, the last time I remember was like in January before the inauguration he was supposed to say something. And he would allude to it. And there's YouTube video, like when somebody asked Bill Clinton if Obama was qualified to be president, and he went, well, if he's over 35 and wink, wink, a U.S. citizen, I guess he is. Right. Everybody knew he was alluding to the eligibility. Right. And that was when the guy broke in the passport office and was murdered. Remember that? Yes. That was back during that whole thing. Everybody knew they were looking up Obama's Indonesian passport. And for us, on our side of it, it wasn't even up for debate. The guy wasn't legit. By his own admission, during the campaign when this stuff started to come out, he put up Fight the Smears. His own website claimed he was born a British citizen. It's still there. Right. It's still there. Right. You cannot be a British citizen and be the President of the United States. We got rid of King George once. We don't want another British president. He even said it himself. I was born a British citizen. He was trying, but it expired because people don't generally understand that that's not how it works.
Right.
And Nancy Pelosi was sending out emails saying, well, yes, he was born a U.S. citizen, but it expired. I mean, they were trying to knock down these hits as they were coming, and people just went, oh, okay, well, I guess it expired and moved on.
Right.
Without really questioning. Then there's the fake birth certificate on top of it all.
Right.
And to me, having spent now going into 6 years of every minute of my life researching this guy and being horrified that he even lives in our country, much less in our White House.
Thank you.
At all of the research, there's no evidence whatsoever he's qualified to be president. There's none.
No.
Zero.
None.
And
right now, Bettina, there's no evidence that he's even a U.S. citizen. Now, it may turn out that he is actually a U.S. citizen, but right now we have more evidence that he's not a U.S. citizen than we have that he is.
Whatever he is, this is a guy that 5 years ago we warned everybody that stuff like the NSA and the IRS scandal and the snooping and the using federal agencies to target his, opponents and all the horrible things he's done, intentionally destroying the economy, everything else. I told everybody this because when I asked, we had a consultant on our film who was a guy that was extremely high up in the Texas Democratic Party. And every time I was freaking out, I was going to have a nervous breakdown because everything I knew about this guy was so horrifying. The Bill Ayers, the Reverend Goddamn America Right. Sorry if I'm not supposed to say that on your show.
Well, no, he said it. I know.
All of those people who Rashid Khalidi, in 2008, I went down to the L.A. Times to picket to get the Khalidi tape. George Soros, we knew about George Soros before. When Glenn Beck brought it up, it was 3 years after I knew that this guy was the one pulling the strings. And so one time I asked, while I was watching the DNC and the Obama campaign literally steal this election, or the primary, from Hillary, I had to ask why. Because Hillary had 28 million or 18 million, whatever it was, popular votes, more than anybody in history. If that was the will of the people, that's what it should have been. But they were stealing delegates from her and doing it in the caucuses.
Right.
And they were doing it in a really ugly way. And she sued in Nevada, and she wrote her attorney, which on our website we have the letter from her D.C. attorney to the DNC, saying, stop the fraud. I know what you're doing.
Right.
And so I go in and I say to this guy in the Democratic Party, why do they care so much? I mean, Hillary's a woman and she's a Clinton, and nobody's going to elect a Republican after Bush anyway. Right. So why are they picking? Because what do they care between Hillary and Obama? They're both basically communists. They're as far to the left as you can get.
Right.
Who cares which one it is? Let them work it out on their own. Why is all this interference with choosing the candidate? Why don't they let it be natural? I mean, they literally gave, you might remember this, Obama didn't run on the ballot, I think, in Michigan and Florida. And so, just to be fair, they took Hillary's delegates and gave them to him.
Yeah, no, I remember that.
Remember that? And that's the day that, 5 million people left the Democratic Party.
Yeah, no.
Because they just decided out of fairness to steal her delegates and give them to him that she didn't earn.
Yeah, I remember that.
It was so awful.
Yeah.
And so I asked him, why would you do this? And this guy said to me that George Soros met with Obama, met with Hillary, decided that Hillary, as far to the left as she was, she really does love this country. And Soros's agenda is to destroy this country. He says it out loud, and everywhere he goes, his goal is to destroy America.
Bettina, I'm going to have to stop right there and take a quick time out because this is just too interesting, and we've got to pay our bills. We'll be right back with Bettina Viviano, folks. You can see where we're going, and when we come back, I'm going to ask her to tell you about what she knows about Bill Clinton's best friend being murdered and about Chelsea's life being threatened, perhaps over the whole birth certificate issue. You don't want to miss this. We'll be right back.
The only people who don't want to disclose the truth are people with something to hide.